Assalamu alaikum and good morning. This morning we're going to talk about neuronal membrane. Okay, so I know that you are very much familiar with this topic because this is just a review. So we're gonna revisit this topic so that you will be able to recall your psychology 1 or general psychology. Uh, Neurons is the basic building block of nervous system. So just like any other cell, they have their own membrane. Okay, so membrane is the one that separates uh, it to other cells. Okay, so the membrane regulates the those information or other substances that comes in the cell is being selected by the membrane. Okay, so all messages that a neuron may send to other cells must depart through this membrane. Okay, so we have nervous tissue. Okay, from the word tissue, this is a group of cells that work collaboratively. Uh, if you still remember or recall the hierarchy or organization of life, cell is the basic unit of life, and then this is when a cell is grouped together, it is called tissue. And then a group of tissues that work collaboratively is what we call organ. And then a group of organs will form into organ system, and this makes a whole living organism. Okay, so in nervous system, there is a two broad classes of cells. Okay, so we have the neuroglia and the neurons. Okay, neuroglia. Okay, from the word glia, that is, uh, which means glue. Okay, so the one that sticks together or being attached to a certain cell. Okay, so that is neuroglia. No, neuroglia is the one that support, no, mechanically and metabolically to neurons. Okay, so on the other hand, we have another cell which is the neuron. Okay, so the neuron is the basic unit of nervous system which processes information. Okay, so this is the okay. So there are about 100 billion neurons in the human brain. Okay, so neurons have the same features as like any other cells. They also have their own nucleus, cytoplasm, membranes, and other organelles. Okay, so neurons, this is the where the genetic information are stored. Okay, they also have this cytoplasm and cell membrane. Okay, so the membrane, as I mentioned earlier, this is the one that uh, um, defines or distinct from one cell to other because they regulate or selectively permeable to the information or substances that comes in and out of the neuron. Okay, so neuron is a highly specialized cell. Okay, so this performs generation and conducts impulses. Okay, so they underlie processing of information and the appearance of particular behavioral events. Okay, so the neurons have different parts. Okay, so one part is we have the dendrites. Okay, these dendrites receive information away. No, dendrites receive information away from other cells. Okay, so uh, from here, okay, the information, I mean the signals comes in, okay, and then it moves into the axon and then to the terminal buttons. Okay, so another part of the cell is cell body. It is also known as the soma, and this is where the nucleus uh, found. This is where we can find the nucleus. Okay, so you also have this axon. Okay, so the axon is the one that carries the information to the next cell. Okay, so the axon is being protected by a myelin sheath. Okay, so the myelin sheath is the one that speed up the impulses. Okay, it speed up the neural impulses. So at the end of the axon, there is what we call terminal buttons. Okay, the terminal buttons is where the neurotransmitters are being stored and released. Okay, so uh, our next slide talks about, okay, so one of the cell, okay, uh, as I mentioned earlier, one of the two broad classes of cell is neuroglia and neurons. So, neuroglia is just a merely structures that is filling in the interstitial cell spaces within the brain. Okay, so the functions of neuroglia are it insulates and support the neurons. It creates myelin sheath. It removes waste products. It provides nourishment, and it prevents harmful substances from entering the brain. The neuroglia has four uh, types in the central nervous system, and then there is also another neuroglia, types of neuroglia in the peripheral nervous system. Okay, so in the neuroglia that's found in the central nervous system, we have four types. We have the astrocytes. Okay, astrocyte is the most abundant central nervous system neuroglia, and it looks like a star. Okay, it has a star-shaped appearance when it is go-go stained, and then this provides a structural support for the neurons of the brain, and this also repairs the neurons following damage of the brain. They also regulate the flow of the ions and larger molecules in the regions of synapses. Again, and the next is microglial cells, from the word microglia, so this is smaller. Okay, it is a smaller glial cells. This acts as a defensive cells in the central nervous system. They remove the dead cells within the brain. Then another type of cell is ependymal cells. Okay, so this lines the cerebrospinal fluid cavities. Okay, another type of cell is oligodendrocytes. Okay, so the oligodendrocytes have processes, no? So this forms the myelin sheaths around the central nervous system nerve fibers. Okay, so the term for the formation of astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, and subependymal cell is macroglia. Macroglia has a bigger glial cell. Okay, so we also have two types of cells or glial cells in the peripheral nervous system. We have the satellite cells and Schwann cells. Okay, so for the satellite cells, they act like astrocytes in the peripheral nervous system. They provide structural support to the neuron, and aside from that, they also repair the damage of the neurons, and they also regulate the flow of ions and larger molecules in the peripheral nervous system. Then the second one is Schwann cells. Okay, these also form myelin, surround neurons in the peripheral nervous system. So just like oligodendrocytes, no? They form myelin. Or as we all know, myelin is very much important in the neuron because it speed up the impulses.